Hey everyone, I hope you're well. This is the story about what if Naruto went to Sand Village and was raised by Tsunade. Before we start, please subscribe to the channel and like the video as well. I have created a playlist of this what if and other what ifs, make sure to check them as well. So without any further ado, let's start the what if. Ninja Academy, Classroom. Well class. We have a new student joining us today. Naruto, Senju. Iruka said, referring to Naruto, who was standing right next to him with a wide grin on his face, and Eevee was beside him sitting on its hind legs and was observing all the students with curiosity. Did he just say, Senju? Were the thoughts of a certain duck-butt-haired kid. Look at that. He already has a Ninken companion with him. It's about damn time I get my own companion too, was the idea floating around the mind of a certain Inuzuka boy. Interesting. His chakra is so dense and large that it's making my Kakachu uneasy. However, there is no ill intent radiating from him as far I can sense, thought a kid with round sunglasses who was wearing a high collar jacket. He's not that bad looking, thought a female blonde girl with a slight blush on her cheeks. That idiot can't match the good looks of my Sasuke-kun. Thought a certain bubblegum-haired girl with hearts in her eyes as she kept on looking at the duck-butt-haired kid. What a drag, no more explanation is needed to understand who said that. The kid then went to sleep on his table. I think I should eat barbecue for lunch, was the thought running through the mind of another kid who is munching potato chips at a very relaxed pace without a care in the world, and he was sitting right next to the kid who just fell asleep. Unknown to all the kids in the classroom, Naruto was actually checking each and every one out with a keen eye behind the mask of his foxy grin. Only 6 children stood out among the entire classroom. A kid with an Uchiha emblem, the next one with the markings of an Inuzuka clan, another kid who seems to be calm and collective, possibly an Aburame. Apart from my father, me and my mom, the only other people who have blonde hair in Leaf Village are the Yamanakas. So the blonde girl might be in Yamanaka. Another kid who lacks motivation, possibly a Nara, and a kid who eats continuously, and depending on his friendship with the Nara, he might be an Akimichi. Was the conclusion Naruto came to in his mind. Your great-granduncle Tobirama Senju always used to tell me to look underneath the underneath. Naruto remembered his mother's very first lesson about being a ninja. Bell rang all of a sudden, interrupting Naruto's thoughts. Iruka just sighed and turned to Naruto and said, well Naruto, I am sure you will make good friends with the rest of the class. He took his things from the bench. I will continue the class after lunch, he said to the class and left. Naruto and Eevee walked towards the bench where Shino, Shikamaru, Choji and Kiba were sitting at. But before he can say anything to introduce himself, Ino suddenly appeared right next to the bench the 4 boys were sitting at and stood facing Naruto. Heya, I am Ino, she said with the slight blush still on her face. This lazy guy is Shikamaru, the chubby one is Choji, the weird-looking one is Shino and the dumb-looking one is Kiba. She introduced the other kids. Hey, I'm not dumb, protested Kiba. Nice to meet ya all. Naruto answered with a foxy grin that seemed to make him look even more cute in the eyes of Ino. What am I thinking? I love only Sasuke-kun. Ino scolded herself. Eevee, being a lady herself, watched the blonde girl and understood what's running through her mind and yipped to stop the girl's daydreams and to let the others know that she was there too. Oh, and this is Eevee, Naruto said, patting Eevee on her head. Eevee, kawaii. Ino started hugging the poor fox to death with hearts in her eyes. Dude, wanna have lunch with us? Kiba offered. Yee. Naruto was interrupted before he can finish his sentence. Hey, Senju, wanna join with me for lunch? The duck-butt-haired kid said. You are a Senju and I'm an Uchiha. We are the elite clan heirs, so we both should become friends, Sasuke said, too proud of his clan heritage. The other kids just shook their heads at the emo boy. Hey, I'm Naruto. What's your name? Naruto greeted, trying to ignore the cocky attitude the Uchiha kid just displayed. As I said, I'm an Uchiha, Sasuke replied, pointing a thumb to himself. But he was confused when Naruto shook his head in negative and said, I didn't ask your clan name. I asked your name. Naruto then pointed the other kids there. These are Ino, Shikamaru, Choji, Kiba and Shino. They didn't introduce themselves with their clan names, did they? Or do you think your clan is above all else that anyone will recognize you with just your clan name? Pin drop silence had settled all over the classroom. Sasuke looked taken back at what was said by the blonde boy. The pink-haired girl screeched, all of a sudden breaking the silence, "Hey! Stop acting cool and trying to make Sasuke-kun look b. I'm Sasuke." The girl's rant was cut short when she heard her precious Sasuke-kun saying that. And this time it was pink-haired girl's turn to get shocked as Sasuke extended a hand for Naruto. Naruto then shook Sasuke's hand and said, "Now that we got through this whole thing, can we all go and have lunch together, as friends?" He finished his sentence by looking around the still shell-shocked Ino, Shikamaru, Choji, Kiba and Shino. Though it can't be said if Shino was shocked or not, as half of his face covered by the collar of his jacket and his eyes were covered with sunglasses. Evie yipped from her place in Ino's lap, breaking the blonde girl out of her shock and others. "Yeah. Let's go," she said excited. Was the duck-butt-haired kid's answer. "All right," came the shout of Kiba. "Fine," came the stoic reply of Shino. "What a drag. Sigh, count me in." Guess who said it? "So are we gonna go for barbecue?" came the suggestion from Choji. "Yeah, barbecue sounds good. Since I'm new to the village. Lead the way." Naruto replied, scratching his head with a grin. Hello." All 7 kids who have lunch plan in mind, collectively as one turned towards the source of the nervous-sounding voice, and found the pink-haired girl fidgeting with her hands and feet. I'm Sakura." Sakura said nervously and took a small pause and continued again. "Can I become the member of this group too for the lunch?" "No," Naruto replied, which made Sakura's head to fall down. "Not just the lunch, but you can become our friend too." Naruto finished giving a thumbs up, which brightened up Sakura's face with a genuine smile. Thus, the foundation of a good friendship was formed between these 8 kids. But none of these kids knew that their friendship will become a crucial factor in shaping the future ahead of them. That evening, after coming back from the barbecue lunch, the 8 kids attended their afternoon class. During the lunch, Ino and Sakura made some amends to their broken friendship over Sasuke. Even though they haven't completely given up their rivalry over Sasuke, they were able to stop bickering back and forth during the lunch, which made the other kids to have some relief. After completing the classes for the day, Naruto said bye to his friends and started walking towards his home along with Evie. He had a genuine smile on his face. But soon he heard some bickering and crying in the woods located off the side of the road. Evie also heard the sounds and turned towards that direction and started growling. "In the woods. Hey, you! You destroyed my ice cream," a boy's accusing voice can be heard. "Sorry," replied a girl, timidly. The girl was surrounded by 3 kids who were a little above her age. She was almost the same age as Naruto. She was wearing a sleeved, black V-neck shirt with mesh armor underneath, with black training pants and sandals. She had dark blue hair in a hime-cut and she had blush on her cheeks, which made her look even more cute. The most striking feature of her was her eyes. Her eyes were lavender in color and were pupil-less. People from noble families like that are always so stuck up. The second boy said, "If you're really a Hyuga, then show us your Byakugan. But if you're not gonna, don't look at us." The first boy said, "Yeah, your eyes are creepy. I bet you're some kind of a monster, aren't you?" The third boy said, "Yeah, a Byakugan monster." The first boy said, which made the other 2 to laugh. The girl got scared and tried to run away, but the first boy caught her by her hand and dragged her back roughly. He then slammed his palm forcefully on her head, which made her fall on her hands and knees. "Come on. Apologize," he demanded. "I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry," the girl started saying as her tears were dropping on the ground. "Hey, dumbos. Quit it." All 3 bullying kids turned towards the source of the voice, only to find Naruto with his arms crossed and a very angry frown on his face, and growling at them in a terrifying way was Evie with her teeth full of saliva. "Who are you, kid? one of the bullies asked, trying to intimidate the young blonde kid. "I'm Naruto Senju, the future Hokage of the Leaf," Naruto announced, pointing a thumb to himself. All three bullies started laughing at this, and one of them started to say in between his laughs, "What an idiot. A brat like you can never become a Hokage." Naruto got a tick mark on his face at that remark, and he made a fist with his left hand. "I'm a brat, you say?" As soon as he finished his question, he punched the ground between him and the bullies with the fist. The chunks of earth broke off from the point of impact from Naruto's left fist, and the ground got destroyed as the destruction surrounded the bullies, trapping them in the broken debris, not harmed but trapped. The girl just kept on looking at the blonde boy who came to rescue her from bullies with an odd look. Naruto stood up and started walking towards the trapped bullies. "My mom said that bullies are those who try to get attention from others by bullying them cause they don't get any attention in any other way," he said, making the three bullies gulp in fear. He approached the three of them and knelt down facing them. "If I see you bullying anyone else again." Then he pointed to something behind their backs, and all three kids turned around to find Evie, only an inch away from their heads, menacingly looking at them with a hungry look and her teeth bared. "I don't think you guys want to know what happens." He finished his sentence. The three boys nodded without missing a beat, and Naruto lifted a large debris that was trapping them with a single hand, allowing them to get out and run as fast as they could. He then turned towards the girl that was still on her hands and knees. "Are you alright, Ms.?" he asked, offering her a hand. "Hinata," she replied as she accepted his hand and stood up with her blush even darker than before. "Okay. I'm Naruto," he said. Evie barked, letting him know that she was there too. "Oh, and she is Evie. Thank you, Naruto-kun, and you too, Evie," Hinata said, poking her index fingers, and her blush seemed to intensify even more. "Hinata-sama," came the shout of Hinata's bodyguard Ko Hyuga, who just came running there. "I am guessing he is your caretaker or bodyguard?" Naruto asked, to which he got a nod in return from Hinata. "Hinata-sama, let's go," Ko said, completely ignoring Naruto, and took Hinata's hand gently to take her home. Sensing no ill intentions from that person, Naruto just said, "Okay then, Hinata. Nice meeting ya. Bye." With that, Naruto turned around and walked off along with Evie towards his home. He never turned back after that. If he did, he would have caught the eyes of the Hyuga heiress looking at his retreating form with an emotion that even she could not tell what it was. After saving the Hyuga heiress from bullies, the blonde troublemaker along with his companion Evie returned to his home. "Mom, sis. I'm home," Naruto shouted, to which Evie also yipped, letting the other two ladies know that she is back too. "How's your first day in the academy, Naruto-kun?" Tsunade was the first to appear as she approached the duo. "It was awesome, and I made some new friends like Shikamaru, Kiba, Choji, Shino, Sakura, Sasuke and Ino-chan." Naruto was about to say something more, but he was interrupted before he could finish by Shizune, who said, "Ino-chan." She made sure to emphasize the word chan, so as to make sure that Tsunade would get what she meant. Hearing this, Tsunade just rolled her eyes, which went unnoticed by Naruto. "Is that your new girlfriend, Naruto-kun?" Shizune asked teasingly as she started pinching her brother's cheek lightly. "What's a girlfriend, sis? You said that in the morning, too. Does it mean something like a friend who is a girl?" Naruto asked after he pried off his sister's hand and started rubbing his cheek. "Aw. Never mind, Naruto-kun." She then glanced at Evie, asking her a silent question, to which Evie just gave her a foxy grin and nodded her head, seemingly agreeing to some unspoken question asked by Shizune, remembering how the blonde girl was trying so hard to control her blush when she saw Naruto's foxy grin. All the while Tsunade was making sure to remember the name Ino, so she could have some time alone with the girl to see if she is a fangirl or not. "I'm glad you made some friends, Naruto-kun," Tsunade said as she bent on her knees and hugged her son. No one but Shizune in the house knew that some tears were threatening to spill from Tsunade's eyes. It was one of Kushina's last wishes for you to have some good friends on whom you can depend for all your life. At this point, no one was able to hold back anymore, and all four members of the house joined the hug to mourn for Naruto's parents who are no longer in this world. Next morning, at the Ninja Academy training ground, class. Iruka said a little loudly to get the attention of the assembled students, and once he was sure that he got the entire class's attention, he continued, as this is the start of the new academic year. We will now do an assessment of what you all already know and find out what are the skills that you excel at and what are the skills that you need some more improvement in. He stopped when he saw the other academy instructor Mizuki walking in along with the same girl whom Naruto saved the last day. Mizuki approached Iruka and handed him an official scroll, which Iruka accepted and started reading. "Yo! Hinata!" Naruto shouted as he was waving his hand in greeting, to which Hinata's cheeks started reddening even more and she waved back in return with a smile. She was wearing the same outfit that she wore last night when Naruto saved her from bullies, whereas Naruto was wearing the white dabbing monkey t-shirt that was gifted to him by Hiruzen again on his birthday last year and white shorts along with Shinobi sandals. Hiruzen kept on gifting him the dabbing monkey t-shirts on his every birthday, which Naruto seemed to like more than all of his other clothes. This made Tsunade to get too suspicious that her sensei was bribing her son slowly to get him to sign the monkey summoning contract. Seeing the Hyuga heiress blushing and waving to Naruto, Ino, who was standing on the right side of the blonde boy, narrowed her eyes slightly. Eevee, who was sitting on its hind legs beside Naruto, was the only one who caught that look on Ino's face. Eevee jerked her head back and forth between Ino and Hinata, and then finally she glanced at Naruto, who was still smiling and waving to Hinata without having any clue in the world about what's going on around him, and fell on her back as she can't control her laughter anymore at his cluelessness. "Dude! What's wrong with Eevee?" asked Kiba as he saw the companion of his blonde friend rolling around weirdly in the grass. Naruto looked at Eevee and just sighed, "Never mind her. She's just laughing. She does that whenever I do something stupid. Did you do something stupid now?" Kiba asked, scratching his head. Before Naruto can reply, "Class." Iruka addressed the assembled students and took a small pause as he started closing the scroll and continued, "We have a new student joining with us today. She's Hinata Hyuga." He introduced her to the class and gestured her to go and stand with the other students. Hinata approached Naruto and stood on his left side as his right side was occupied by Ino. "All right, class. Let's start with the kunai and shuriken throwing skill. As I call your names, please come one by one and try to hit bullseye," Mizuki explained. For the next 40 minutes, the entire class except Naruto and his friends were tested, and both the senseis noted down the areas of excellence and areas of improvements for all the students. Then the turn came for Sakura to take her test. Sakura nervously approached Mizuki, who handed her 5 kunai and 5 shuriken to throw at the bullseye. She was becoming even more nervous as she is the only one among her friends who does not belong to Shinobi family. "Do your best, Sakura," Kiba cheered, seeing her nervousness. Sakura just smiled at her friend's support and threw them one by one. Even though she did not hit the bullseye in all 10 throws, she was really close to the bullseye. "Good job, Sakura. Your technique is good, but you need some work on your aim," Iruka said with a smile as he noted down what areas she needs improvement in. "Thank you, sensei," Sakura replied as she joined her friends, having a small joyful jump to her feet. "Next up, Ino," Mizuki called. "Do your best, Ino-chan." Naruto encouraged his blonde female friend, all the while completely missing the surprised look on the face of Hinata, which only lasted for a second, but Eevee didn't miss it. "I will, Naruto. Just watch me," Ino said the first part with a smile, but she emphasized her last part, clearly trying to send a message to someone else, which obviously Naruto didn't understand the true meaning of. "I will," he replied, again missing the narrowed eye look on the face of Hinata this time. Ino approached Mizuki, who gave her another set of kunai and shuriken. With a confidence that was lacking in the case of Sakura, Ino threw them, and 2 of her kunai and 1 of her shurikens hit the bullseye, whereas the rest were close to the bullseye. "Not bad, Ino. 3 out of 10. You just need some more work with your aim. Good job," Iruka noted down about her too. "Yes, sensei," she replied and turned around with confidence and walked back towards her position. "Hinata, your turn," Mizuki called out. "Show them what you got, Hinata," Naruto replied, patting her on the shoulder, which made her blush a little more. "I don't like this new girl," was the thought running rampant in the mind of the blonde girl. "Okay, Naruto-kun," Hinata replied with stutter and approached Mizuki to take her test. In Hinata's case, one of her kunai and 2 of her shuriken hit the bullseye and the rest were close to the bullseye. 3 out of 10. Nice, Hinata. Your score is almost like Ino. You would also need some work in your aim. I will work on it, sensei. She replied with a bow and went back to her position. Shino. Your turn. Mizuki called the bug boy. Shino calmly walked up to Mizuki and to take his test. Without uttering a single word, he threw them. 4 of his shuriken hit the bullseye, while the remaining were nearest to the bullseye. Good job, Shino. 4 out of 10. Though it seems that you are far more efficient with shurikens than kunai. You have to do some more practice on kunai throwing. Iruka said, to which Shino just nodded, agreeing with his sensei, and returned back to his position. Kiba. You're next. Mizuki called the Inuzuka boy. Kiba ran up to Mizuki as he can't wait anymore to take the test and threw the weapons as soon as he can. 4 of his kunai hit the bullseye, whereas the remaining were nearest to the bullseye. Good job, Kiba. 4 out of 10, just like Shino. But unlike Shino, it seems that you are more efficient with kunai than shuriken. Practice some more on shuriken throwing. Iruka suggested. Alright, sensei. Kiba said and went back to his earlier position. Choji. Come on. Choji approached Mizuki and took the shuriken and kunai given to him. He glanced at the human-shaped target with a bullseye on it and back to the weapons given to him. He then glanced at Iruka and asked, does it mean that I have to hit humans in future with these to hurt them, sensei? So his father was not lying to me when he said Choji is too kind. Iruka thought, but then he replied, yes, Choji, you may have to in future. But for now try to hit the bullseye. Choji frowned at this, but still threw the weapons at the target. Sadly, only 1 of his kunai hit the target and none of the rest were anywhere near to the target. Iruka frowned at this internally. His kindness may become a hindrance to him in his ninja career. He would need some guidance to improve his mind to be able to deal with the side effects of being a ninja. Thought Iruka in his mind, but outwardly he just smiled and said, good job, Choji. Practice some more and you will get more score. To which Choji nodded and took out his potato chips packet and started munching them on his way back to his earlier position among friends. Shikamaru. Come on. You're next. Mizuki called. Shikamaru. Mizuki called again. Shikamaru could be seen laying on the grass instead of standing in attention along with the rest of the class. Sometimes I wish I could just be a cloud too. No need to do any work. No need to have any care in the world. Just go along with the flow, were the thoughts running pleasantly in Shikamaru's mind as he kept on gazing at the passing clouds in the sky. But his peaceful moment was interrupted when Shikamaru. Mizuki shouted at the pineapple-haired kid when he didn't respond twice when he called. Yes, sensei. Shikamaru stood up lazily and approached Mizuki to get this test over with so he can go back to his cloud watching again. He just lazily threw the weapons at the target. Amazingly, 1 of his shurikens still hit the bullseye even though it was a horrible throw, while none of the others were anywhere close to bullseye. His dad was right about him. The kid has absolutely zero motivation. Though how that 1 shuriken still hit the target, I have no idea. Iruka thought with a twitching eyebrow. Mizuki was also more or less thinking the same thing with his mouth hung open. He was not the only one who was shocked though. Naruto was laughing like crazy along with the entire class at the funniest show put on by the pineapple-haired kid. Shikamaru didn't wait for Iruka or Mizuki to come out of their shock or for his friends to stop laughing and went back to his cloud watching by laying down on the grass, without any care in the world. Iruka was the first to recover and he coughed a little loudly to get the class attention and possibly wake Mizuki from his own shock too. It worked as Mizuki recovered quickly and called out, Sasuke. You're next. As soon as Mizuki said Sasuke, the fangirls of Sasuke started their frantic cheering for the duck-but-haired kid. Show them what you've got, Sasuke-kun. An unknown girl whose name Sasuke doesn't even know shouted. Yes. Sasuke-kun. You're the best, another unknown girl shouted. Team. Don't mind me asking. But who are they? Naruto asked, leaning a little back where Sasuke was standing, only to see an irritated expression on the kid's face. Like, I know who those girls are, dope. I didn't Eve. The duck-but-haired didn't get to finish as he was interrupted by a loud-pitched shout coming from right next to the two whispering boys. Sasuke Kun. Me and Ayano Pig will cheer for you. Obviously, Sakura was the one who shouted, but it was so loud that it forced both Naruto and Sasuke to try to close their ears with their hands to stop the ringing in their ears. But imagine Sakura's surprise when Ino didn't shout or cheer for Sasuke like she used to do in past whenever the topic of Sasuke comes. Sakura gave an odd look to Ino, to which Ino just responded, "What? Nothing." Sakura turned her face away with a frown, trying to think of what's going on in her friend's mind, while Sasuke walked up to Mizuki, still trying so hardly to ignore the rest of his fangirls' cheers. Sasuke remembered how his brother taught him the throwing techniques and took 5 kunai in one hand and 5 shuriken in the other. He threw them all at once at different human-shaped targets placed in line, which made Iruka and Mizuki to get shocked as they didn't expect such a skill level from a boy so young. 4 kunai and 4 shuriken hit the bullseyes of the different human targets, while the remaining 1 kunai and 1 shuriken were very close to the bullseye. Well done, Sasuke. 8 out of 10. That too with such a graceful throwing technique and hitting multiple targets at once. If you practice more, you can get 10 out of 10. Iruka praised. Sasuke nodded in appreciation for his sensei's praise. Sasuke then put his hands in pockets and walked up to Naruto and said, "Beat that. Dope, I will team." Naruto accepted the challenge of his duck-but-haired friend. "Naruto." Mizuki called. As soon as Mizuki read the name Naruto, Naruto felt some malice coming from Mizuki. But from the outside, Mizuki was giving a kind smile. Naruto just narrowed his eyes for a moment and approached Mizuki to take the kunai and shuriken. Naruto immediately found something odd about the weapons given to him. They were worn out and were definitely not in the best condition to do this test. But he just shrugged and took all 5 kunai in one hand and threw them first. What happened next had not only scarred the minds of Iruka, Mizuki, and the entire class, but also left Hiruzen shocked beyond belief, who was watching the test through his crystal ball along with Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Shizune from the Hokage Tower. When Naruto threw the kunai, the force and the speed of the throw were so great that the sound barrier shattered, and a shockwave was generated from Naruto's palm and it rushed outward towards those present there, forcing them to fall onto the ground to save themselves from the oncoming danger. No one knew whether the 5 kunai hit the target or not, as the path of the kunai was destroyed and the human-shaped target that Naruto aimed at is no longer present. Not even splinters of that target were available to check. Hokage Tower, what were you teaching him? Hiruzen muttered in silent shock at the destruction caused by a single throw of the boy. I didn't teach him that technique. Tsunade replied coolly, talking about her monstrous strength. What? Hiruzen turned his head so fast that Shizune thought he would have a whiplash. Yes, sensei. I didn't teach him my monstrous strength technique. Before Hiruzen can ask more, she continued again, he somehow inherited it from me. I don't know how, but he did. And his strength is a lot scarier than mine, even at his age. Tsunade said proudly. Imagine the look on your face, Hokage-sama, if I say that it's not even a fraction of his true strength. Shizune thought out loud, trying to hold back her laughter. What the hell? Hiruzen shouted in shock and turned towards Jiraiya for confirmation. Yes, sensei. He held back a lot in that throw. Jiraiya confirmed what Shizune said. You've got to be kidding. Back at the academy training grounds. Even though they can't find out whether the kunai hit the bullseye or not by simply looking at the target like they did for the other students, cause the target and the kunai were disintegrated into nothingness with force of the throw, they still have to see what Naruto's score is. Thankfully, all the tests are being monitored by video surveillance. So both Mizuki and Iruka acquired the videotapes and were in the process of watching it in ultra slow motion. What the fuck was that dope? Sasuke screamed like a madman, which surprised all those students present there, because the duck-but-haired kid always acted cool. They never thought that they would see their Uchiha lover boy screaming like a fangirl. There are 2 ways to defeat your enemy's team. Naruto started saying, and when he saw Sasuke nodding at him to continue, he continued, you either hit multiple enemies all at once, or Sasuke questioned, and this conversation made all the others present there to get interested too. You just hit one single enemy with a devastating blow that will make the rest of your enemies feel terrified to even think of having a conflict with you and flee for their lives. When Sasuke kept on staring at him blankly, Naruto explained, the yellow flash of the leaf didn't fight against all villages that were our enemies at the same time. He just hit the hidden stone village with a huge devastating blow by taking out 1,000 shinobi of theirs all alone. From that day onwards, his bingo book entry from all shinobi nations suggests their ninjas to flee on sight if they encounter the yellow flash. He gave small pause for Sasuke to understand and continued again, so you either hit multiple enemies all at once, or you just hit one single enemy with a devastating blow that will make the rest of your enemies feel terrified to even think of having a conflict with you and flee for their lives. Hokage Tower. He reminds me of Tobirama-sensei with his knowledge about battle tactics. Hiruzen muttered out loud. Well, he's his great-grand-nephew after all. Tsunade chimed in. Back at the academy training grounds, Iruka and Mizuki came back after watching the footage in ultra-slow motion and were ready to reveal whether the kunai hit the target or not. All 5 kunai hit the bullseye in the exact center before the sheer force generated from the throw obliterated the kunai and the target. Iruka announced to the class with a sweat drop at the back of the head. All right. Kiba shouted. Way to go, Naruto. Ino cheered. Naruto-kun, thought Hinata. What a drag, muttered Shikamaru. Shino just adjusted his sunglasses. Choji just kept on munching his chips with a renewed vigor. HNN, guess who said this? Not as best as Sasuke-kun. But still, good job, Naruto. No wonder you guys already know who said this. Okay, sensei. Now I'm gonna throw shurikens to complete my test. No/don't. Both the Hokage and Iruka shouted from their respective places, while Mizuki immediately fell face first on the ground when he heard Naruto saying he is gonna throw shurikens now. After the weapons throwing test was finished in the Ninja Academy, Iruka and Mizuki decided to move the location of the next test to another field as this field had to be repaired for the damage it sustained. The next round would be a one-on-one hand-to-hand combat. No use of any kind of jutsu if you know them. It's purely a taijutsu test. Iruka explained. After getting nods of understanding from the assembled class, Iruka nodded at Mizuki to start calling. Kiba Inuzuka and Choji Akimichi, please take your position in this ring. Mizuki called, pointing to a circle of space drawn on the ground. The first one to either fall down or to be out of the ring loses. Mizuki explained when the 2 kids made it inside the ring. When the 2 kids nodded at him, Mizuki announced, begin. Come at me, Fatso. Kiba called out, trying to get the chubby kid riled up. As soon as the word Fatso hit the ears of Shikamaru, he sat up from his resting position so fast that Naruto thought he would hurt his back. Oh no. Don't tell me Kiba just called Choji that. Shikamaru asked in panic. Was Naruto's intelligent reply, and Eevee, who was sitting on its hind legs on the right side of Naruto, just tilted her head in confusion, not understanding why the pineapple-haired kid is in panic. What did you just call me? Came the voice of Choji, whose eyes were shadowed as he lowered his head a little, making it impossible to see his eyes. I said, come at me, Fatso. Kiba repeated, being sure of his victory. What Kiba didn't expect was for Choji to suddenly appear in front of him and slam his fist so hard in his gut that he would fly out of the ring. Pin-drop silence filled the training grounds as all of those assembled there were not expecting the chubby kid to be that fast. The silence was immediately broken when Kiba fell with his back hitting the ground so hard, and he had a painful expression on his face as he was holding his stomach. Was his dad wrong about him being too kind? Iruka couldn't help but think with a sweat drop forming at the back of his head. Mizuki just stood there with his mouth hung open after seeing what just happened. Choji quickly realized that he went too far and immediately approached Kiba and offered him a hand. Sorry Kiba, that word kinda ticks me off. When Kiba didn't accept his hand and kept on looking angrily at him, Choji continued again with an awkward smile while scratching neck with his other hand. How about, all of us have dinner at my family restaurant this Saturday? Like, for real? Mizuki snorted. Saturday and Sunday. Kiba bargained and completely ignored the shout of seriously. Coming from Mizuki. Deal. Choji accepted, and in turn Kiba accepted his hand and stood up while nursing his gut. Both kids then went back to their positions, all the while ignoring the dumbfounded look on both of their senseis. Naruto patted his friend Kiba on the shoulder and said, "Nicely done. You've got us a free party this weekend." To which Kiba just gave a two-fingered salute and said, "I know I'm awesome." Mizuki recovered first and cleared his throat to get the bickering students' attention and called, "Shino Aburame and Shikamaru Nara. Please come. This should be interesting." Both of them are supposed to be geniuses when it comes to tactics, was the thought running across Iruka's mind as both kids entered the ring. 3 minutes have passed after Mizuki said begin, but none of them moved a muscle. Shikamaru has a bored expression on his face and Shino's expression is not visible as he was wearing sunglasses and high-collared coat. "I give up." Absolute silence. The entire class was baffled along with both senseis as Shino was the one who said that whereas Shikamaru just raised an eyebrow. "What?" Mizuki said. "Most of my techniques are based on using my bugs even in taijutsu. So considering that it could be a type of ninjutsu, logically seeing I can't defeat Shikamaru as I am now." Shino admitted. Iruka nodded in understanding at seeing how logical Shino is. "Okay, so the win." Mizuki was about to announce the winner but, "I give up too." All of those present there turned towards the source of the voice, and found Shikamaru. Crickets could be heard chirping in the background as Shikamaru just gave a yawn and said, "Like Shino, most of my techniques are based on my shadow ninjutsu, so even I can't defeat Shino as I am now. So, I give up too." This kid has no motivation at all. Iruka thought with a twitching eye as he saw both geniuses going back to their position among the crowd. Mizuki just shook his head and called, "Naruto Senju and Sasuke Uchiha." Naruto again felt malice coming from Mizuki when he took his name, but he couldn't focus on it among the loud cheering of Sasuke's fangirls including Sakura. "Show him what you've got, Sasuke." A no-name, civilian fangirl shouted, "Break him, Sasuke." Another no-name, civilian fangirl shouted, "Go." Sasuke Kun. This was the loudest shout made by the pink-haired girl as both the blonde boy and the duck-butt-haired boy were making their way towards the ring. "I must break you, dobe," Sasuke said as he got into his Uchiha fighting stance, which was the interceptor, with his knees bent and hands being raised up to his chest level with loose fists that can be used to intercept the opponent's attacks. "Ah-ha. Okay, team." Naruto replied with a challenging smile and stood at the ready with his own stance that Sasuke never saw. Naruto stood with his torso turned sideways, and he kept his left leg forward with his right leg in the back. He bent his left leg so that he would slightly lean forward. He had his left hand up to his eye level with the thumb, index, and middle fingers were in a position resembling a hook, and with his right hand he made a fist and kept it near stomach level with the fist pointing sideways. Imagine Goku's fighting stance. When Mizuki saw both kids at the ready he said, "Begin," and jumped back as he doesn't want to get caught in the fight as he already saw what happened in the weapons throwing test. As soon Mizuki announced the start of the test, Sasuke with an impressive speed which is almost equivalent to that of a low chunin, ran straight towards his blonde opponent. When his fist was almost about to make contact with Naruto, the blonde just blurred out of his way and reappeared at the back of Sasuke. Sasuke, due to the speed he was running at, could not react fast enough as the blonde simply tapped him on the back with his index finger. Sasuke's momentum and the tap of Naruto pushed him outside of the ring. It all just happened in the span of 2 seconds. No one said anything at what they just witnessed as all of them were still trying to process what happened. Hokage Tower. How strong and how fast is he really? Hiruzen questioned, no longer surprised after witnessing Naruto just blur away and reappear behind the Uchiha kid. "We don't know yet." Hiruzen turned towards Tsunade who answered and asked, "What do you mean?" "I trained him in physical exercises from the time he unlocked his chakra when he was 5 years old." Tsunade started saying and took a pause, and when she got a nod from Hiruzen to continue she continued, "For 3 years I wanted to test his limits for stamina and strength, but I couldn't find them." "What?" Hiruzen asked, dropping the smoking pipe from his mouth. "Yes, sensei." Tsunade sighed and continued saying, "I was not able to push him to his limits in physical training. I wanted to make him tire out from the physical exhaustion, so that he would be able to break that limit and set a new limit for himself every day through training. But no matter how harsh the training I gave him, he seems to be able to make it a playing ground for himself. So, you don't know what his limit is? Hiruzen asked, to which Tsunade just nodded. He also inherited the monstrous strength technique from me, but his strength does not require him to use chakra. What he did in the weapon throwing test was all his strength and his chakra was not involved. Tsunade explained. Wait. That's pure strength. Hiruzen almost shouted. Yes, sensei. Even though he inherited his strength from her, I initially thought that the reason he doesn't require chakra to do the monstrous strength technique is because of the strange occurrence that happened when Naruto tried to unlock his chakra for the first time. Jiraiya was the one who replied. You mean him gathering the nature chakra? Hiruzen asked as he already knew about that. Yes, sensei. That was my initial guess, that him gathering the nature chakra may have been the reason for his strength and stamina. But I'm not sure now, as once nature chakra leaves the user's body, the user won't have the nature chakra enhanced strength anymore. For all we know, he just inherited the monstrous strength from Tsunade and the technique is a lot more powerful within him. Jiraiya said, rubbing his chin, to which Hiruzen just nodded, as Jiraiya is a sage and knows how nature chakra works. Sometimes the traits that children inherit from their parents are many times stronger than the parents. Shizune put her thoughts in. But how is that even possible? Hiruzen thought out loud and then his expression became somber. His real parents were Minato and Kushina. Hiruzen said the last part more to himself than the others present with him. The entire room fell into a somber mood at the mention of the real parents of Naruto. I know. But I'm related to Kushina by blood and we all know that the Uzumaki were blood related to Senju too. So, if I must guess, the genes were already within him and became dominant as I raised him. Tsunade said and then took a deep breath. Whether I'm his birth mother or not doesn't matter. He is my son and I'm his mother. Our bond was just solidified even more as he inherited mine and my grand-uncle's traits. Hiruzen just nodded with a fatherly smile at Tsunade's words, remembering that Naruto has also inherited his sensei Tobirama's sensory abilities. Thanks for watching, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, comment down below and let me know. Also share this video with your friends. I have created a playlist of this what if where you guys can find all the parts. See you in the next video.